Hey guys, welcome to the next lesson. So in this lesson we are going to create this mug. So let's get started. Again, let's start by hitting create sketch. And let's select a side plane. Now let's grab a rectangle and let's make that a center point rectangle. And let's place the first point in the origin. And let's drag that out and let's type in 10 for the thickness and let's hit tab and let's type 100. There we go. Now this is going to be the bottom of the mug. And let's also grab a line to divide that up into two. So if you hover over this, you can see this rectangle right here, this blue rectangle, and that defines the midpoint of this line. So if I click that and go down here and click the midpoint here as well, that line is now defined in the center here and I cannot move it anymore. So now let's grab another rectangle and let's set the first point right here and let's drag that upwards. And let's set the height of that to be 70. And the thickness, let's make that also 10 millimeters. There we go, and let's hit enter. And that's it for the start in this sketch. So let's hit finish sketch. And now we're going to want this to revolve around here. And there's actually a revolve function within Fusion. So we can see it right here under create, revolve. Let's click that. And let's click this part and this part. So we cannot select this part because if it's going to revolve, it's going to hit itself. So we only need to select these two parts. And then we need to select the axis around which it is going to rotate. So let's select that. And that is going to be the center axis right here in the origin. Let's click that and you can already see what that does. So that's going to create the start of the mug for us. So that looks good. Let's hit OK. And I actually want this edge here to be a little bit more rounded. So to get that, let's go back in that first sketch. And let's actually grab a circle. And let's make that a 2-point circle. And now we want to select the first point right here. And let's drag that downwards and select the second point on this line as well. And now let's make sure that this circle is defined to this line. So let's select the center point and let's hold shift and select this line. And if we go up here, we find this constraints menu, and constraints are basically relationships that we can add to geometry, to sketch geometry. And now we've selected these two, and what we want is for them to be on the same location. So to get that, we can click the coincident constraint right here. Let's select that. And now this is constrained to this line, but we haven't defined the size yet. So let's hit D for smart dimension. Let's click that circle and let's give that a size of 10 millimeters. That's going to be the diameter. So a diameter of 10 millimeters. And then we also need some geometry from here to make a smooth transition over to here. And for that, we are going to use an arc. So let's go to create, hit arc, and we are going to use a 3-point arc again. So let's click that. And let's select the first point on the circle and the final point on this line. And let's set it to something like that. It doesn't matter, let's just click somewhere. And now what we want is for this arc to be tangent to this line and also tangent to this circle. And just now we used the coincident constraint, and there's also this tangent constraint right here. So we can click the tangent constraint and then we can click this arc and this line. And that's going to make it tangent to this line. But we also want it to be tangent to this circle. So let's select the arc and this circle. And that didn't give us exactly what we want. So let's hit Ctrl Z and let's drag that up a little bit. So it's closer here. There we go. And let's now select tangent, select both of them. And that's going to give us exactly what we want. Now one more thing to fully define it. Let's select this top line right here and this point, and let's set that distance to be 10 millimeters as well. And let's hit enter. And there we go, that's going to give us this nice transition. Let's hit finish sketch, and let's double click this revolve function to edit it. And let's deselect this part, and to add something we actually first have to set this to 0. So let's set it to 0, and then add this part to it. And that's going to automatically set it to 360 degrees again, which is what we want. So let's hit OK. And that's already the mug sort of finished, but we still need a handle to it. So let's make that now. Let's go back in this first sketch and let's grab the circle tool. And this is going to be the center diameter circle, and let's just click it somewhere right here. And let's drag that out and type in 60 millimeters for the diameter. And let's actually grab this 70 here and make that 80. There we go. Just so that's a little bit taller. And now let's grab the tangent constraint again. And let's make this circle tangent to this line. So that's at that same height, which is where we want it. And now let's hit div smart dimension and set the distance from this midpoint to this line to be 10 millimeters. There we go. And as you can see, let me delete that real quick. Now this line is blue and I can still move it. And as soon as I add this dimension from there to there, from there to there, and make that 10, now this line turns black. And that it is black means that it is fully defined. And typically when you're modeling, you really want all your geometry to turn black, so that it is all fully defined and it cannot move around anymore without you wanting to do so. So that's it for now in this sketch. Let's hit finish sketch. And now what we want to do is for this handle that we're going to make, let's select that visibility, is we're going to use the sweep function. So we just use the revolve function and now we're going to use something else. If we go to create, hit sweep. So that is going to ask us for a profile and a path. And it's going to sweep that profile around this path. So we have the path, but we don't have the profile yet that's going to sweep around this. So let's make that. Let's hit cancel on the sweep. And we actually want a little profile right here with the midpoint on this circle. But we cannot create a sketch there right now, because if we hit create sketch, we have to select a plane, and we cannot select a plane at this height where we want it. So let's hit escape, and we can actually create that plane on which we can create a sketch. So if we go up here to construct, the construct function is for creating planes and axes and points. And right now we want to create a plane, and the easiest way to create a plane is the offset plane. So let's click that, and that's basically just going to give an offset to an already existing plane. So if we select this bottom plane right here, let's click that, we can now give that a height. So we can drag that upwards and create that plane somewhere. But instead of dragging it up ourselves, we can also set it to an exact distance by setting the extent to 2 object. And for the extent, let's select the center point of this circle. There we go. So that's going to put it exactly where we're going to want to create that profile. So let's hit OK. And let's now hit create sketch. And let's select this new plane for the sketch. And what we now want is to get the midpoint of the little profile that we want to make. And it is not in this sketch right now, but we can project it like we did in the last lesson. So we can hit project include. And now instead of just projecting something, let's hit intersect. And then let's select this circle. And that's going to give us the intersection of this circle and this plane that we are sketching on. So that's going to be this point right here and this point as well, although we don't need this one. But that's alright. So let's hit OK. And now we can deselect the visibility of that first sketch. And we remain with this point. And now let's actually go to create. Hit ellipse. And we're going to create an ellipse for this sweep profile. So the ellipse tool is first going to ask us for the center point. So let's select that point that we just created. Then it's going to ask us for one of the radiuses of the ellipse. So let's set that to be around 7. And let's click. And let's set the second distance to be 12. And let's hit enter. So that's all we want in this sketch. That's going to be the profile that we are going to use to sweep around that circle. So let's hit finish sketch. And let's go to create and hit sweep. There we go. And let's reselect the visibility of that sketch that we just deselected. Now it's first going to ask us for the profile. So let's select this profile. And then it's going to ask us for the path. So let's select this circle. There we go. And now there's going to be overlapping geometry. So it's going to automatically cut. But let's set that cut to join. And let's hit OK. So there we go. That's the handle for this mug. And now in the inside here, We have some geometry that we don't really need, but we can just delete that by hitting extrude, selecting this bottom plane here, the bottom of the mug. And let's just drag that up and this overlapping geometry, so it's automatically set to cut, and let's hit OK. And that cut that away for us. And now let's just make it look a little bit nicer by hitting fillet. And let's select this part and this part. And let's give that a little bit of a radius there, so it looks like it's welded on or something. Something like that looks good. And let's hit plus here on the fillet panel. And let's select this bottom edge as well. And let's drag that in just a little bit. Something like that. That looks good. And let's hit OK. So there we go, that's the mug finished. And in the next lesson, we are going to pimp it a little bit. And we are also going to render it. So I'll see you in that lesson.